Welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast, where we sit down and have real conversations with business leaders that have been where you are. During these interviews, we'll dive into what it takes to improve systems and champion processes that maximize performance. Each week, our trailblazing guests share their experiences and understanding of the workforce to help inspire change, challenge our thinking, and share what it takes to successfully travel the road to profitability. Now here's our host, co-founder and chief evangelist of About Time and WorkMax, Mike Merrill.
Hello and welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast. I am your host, Mike Merrill, and today we are excited to have one of our favorite return guests, Mr. Jeffrey Nesbitt Sr. Welcome back, Jeffrey. Appreciate having you on today.
Thank you, Michael. Glad to join again.
You bet. And just by way of introduction, Jeffrey is the manager of global ERP alliances and partnerships at Procore. He's an expert in processes and communication and also how to best streamline those things from the office to the job site. So today we're going to talk about how companies are better managing those processes, including required networks and the amount of wasted time that is caused because of those challenges to businesses. So excited to have you on again today, Jeffrey, and it's always a fun treat to connect.
I appreciate you inviting me back. I think this is the third time, so third time's the lucky charm. I don't know, just keep bringing me back to see if we get it right or what's happening.
I think that's it. I think this is a record. I've had a couple guys on twice, so you're the first number 3. So
there you go. I'll look for the block in the mail.
The trophy, right?
You got this helpful.
Sounds good. Well, I already sent you some WorkMax swag, and you said your son was stealing it, so I had to refill you.
That is correct, and it was well used. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, so let's just start off the top here. This is something that you and I have talked about quite a bit, even just casually and socially. But what is it you feel like is causing construction to still be such a laggard in technology adoption?
Well, you hate to say we're a laggard because, being in the tech space like we've both been for a while, we've always been on the forward front envelope pushing things forward. And the industry's sort of been trailing behind, if you will. And it's really just due to culture, right? The way we were brought up in the industry. I think back to my grandfather as a carpenter, right? Like, tearing down one house to build another, things were just manual processes because they needed to be. And quite honestly, technology wasn't there to sort of develop along what I would consider one of the most complex industries out there, right? We look around and you can see our work everywhere. We build the most amazing structures, buildings, homes, bridges, you name it. But we do it on the tightest of margins with some of the most manual processes. So I would definitely say things are trending in the right direction. I'm sure we'll talk about it today. As the new workforce generation is coming to our industry, it's helping us push it forward, right? I think COVID expedited things by 15 years, and I think this next generation coming in is going to expedite it another 20 years. At what they're used to in school, coming out of college, using technology and tools. You can't have these folks, set of blueprints and a yellow pad and pencil and say, go get it, right? They're asking for more.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I've heard others say something similar, that there have been some unintended consequences on the positive side where people had to kind of, for lack of a better word, get their crap together because COVID forced us to work better remotely and collaborate better. Is that kind of what you're saying as well?
Yeah, right. All of a sudden, the things that we could do on a job site, take time cards, for example, right? Quickly being able to drive the old paper time cards to the back office for them to process payroll, that disappeared. No one was in the office and no one was, be able to drive it over to who and where, right? So little simple things like that. The sharing of blueprints or different plans because we were, under lockdown, we couldn't be on site together. All that type of things that we took for granted, the human interaction, with a dispersed workforce, expedited that.
Are you seeing, or can you think of an area where we're really still not getting the picture, not really catching on like we should be, in your opinion?
I think it just still all relates back to this disjointed silos that we have within companies, whether it's construction or any industry or vertical. You sort of folks departmentalize, right? When you look at yourself and your company, say, well, I work in this department, and there may be other departments that you collaborate or work with, but many times we use the technology to solve my problems, not necessarily the other department's problems. So it's sort of around that silo technology is where we're still seeing challenges, and we're not looking at things from a platform perspective. Like I'd like to talk about construction platform.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's a great word. And again, I think a big buzzword in the industry. And I think if we look back, Wi-Fi out on job sites, it wasn't so long ago that just wasn't available. Connectivity, trying to run a T1 line out to a project, or even just a phone cable over the dirt, was something that I used to see when I was in construction a couple of decades ago. And now, the internet and mobile technology apps are kind of old news when it comes to, even the construction industry. So do you feel like AI and maybe big data insights, BI is the next phase of things like the internet and mobility was maybe 10 years ago?
Well, you forgot one other important piece. You skipped over fax machines, right? That was
That's
true. From hammer to fax machines, and then all of a sudden, we got mobile. And scary enough, some people are still using fax machines. But no, really, that next sort of what is that next jump is what you're asking around data and AI. And I would say that is a golden opportunity for companies, is to harvest that data, right, and harness it. Because if you look at out there, 96% of all data, it goes unused in engineering and construction. And you're thinking, well, why is that? Why are we not, we have all this data? Well, one is we have those siloed systems I was talking about, right? Another option is we're not capturing the information or the data at the source, whether that's in the back office, that's in the field, that's in the job trailer, where we're not capturing at the source it needs to be. And we haven't had data analytics tool. The third reason is as an industry, construction hasn't had data analytic tools like some of the other ones in education and healthcare. That's started to churn up a little bit now. And I would say the fourth problem or challenge around the data harvesting and why we haven't been doing this, every project is so unique, right? Everything's so different. So it's hard to establish standards or baselines, which has been challenging. So I think that we look at those four reasons, we can quickly understand sort of, hey, how is it that 96% of us aren't using it? The ones who do figure it out and can learn from it, those are going to be the companies that are moving forward. And unfortunately, the laggards who can't utilize data or understand it and manipulate it are going to be the ones falling behind. A lot of times data, like this leads to 13% of project costs is spent on rework, right? And that's because we don't have the data available. So it's causing a lot of rework. And so of all that rework, 30% of all contracting companies are ending up having to redo work, right? So 30% of contractors out there are redoing work on a job all the time. So that's really leading to, on average, roughly about 80% of your projects are either late or over budget. And it's because of lack of data. So when I say, it's a golden opportunity, it really is a golden opportunity, is to get to that analytic level or learning level. I like to say, right, we're contractors, but we should be contractors that are also a learning organization.
Yeah, we're business owners. We're entrepreneurs first. We happen to be in the business of construction, but whether you're a plumber or a roofer or an excavator or concrete guy, it doesn't even matter. GC, we're all entrepreneurs running a company that's a for-profit business, and those trades just happen to be the widget that we produce that generates the revenue, right?
Yeah, I think analytics and AI will be that next huge jump. I think AI is going to transform our industry. I really do. Literally over the next decade, it's going to be very different than it looks today. I think we already have some of it on for a couple of years. It's definitely in the minority, but it's usually around robotics, blockchain, some modeling, pattern detection type things today. I think we're going to continue to see that being optimized as well.
Well, and with AI, that data flows to where it's supposed to go. And today, and I know you and I have spoken even on a previous episode and read a bunch of studies. Procore's done studies. We've done some studies, some surveys. James Benham's done some surveys. And I've seen anywhere from like 7 to 9 apps are being used on average by a field foreman or superintendent. And there's a lot of overlap between one app and another. And so really companies adopting best of breed point solutions and then having a really nice tight integration powered by AI, which is I think what you're alluding to, is really, I think, the secret sauce to getting rid of those extra data silos and then also utilizing more than 4% of that data, right?
Yeah, you hit it on the key, on the head. The key to that success for AI is the sharing of data. And that's why I said one of those original challenges is that siloed approach, right? When we're working within our companies as contractors, we need to be able to share that. And that's why I say a platform is so important. In my old days as a consulting role, I said, let's stop looking for solutions and let's start talking about construction platform. And construction platform to me is a platform that has a primary solution in it, but it's open. It's like Switzerland. It's willing to integrate with others. It's like the Procore platform, right? We have the life cycle of all the data around there, right? But then the pieces we don't have, we own the whole life cycle, but let's say a customer is not using all of our applications. Well, we have over 400 integrated partners on the platform, right? So now that helps break down those data silos, right? Again, it is about connectivity. It's about letting the client dictate the best tools for their business processes. Because what's great for you may not be great for me. And we don't want to dictate it, but we do want to give them a platform where they can be connected and share information between each other. That's that data harvesting.
Yeah, it's a great point. It, makes me think it's like if you built this brand new 8,000 square foot custom home and a pretty cool garage, but you're really only using the garage. You never even go into the house. That's the 4% of the goodness of what you've built, but yet you can't even see the rest of it because you can't get past that fire door.
Right. And that's that whole visibility thing, right? That's shortening the time of occurrence of something happening to you realizing what that cost impact is and be able to make a decision about it. A lot of times executives are making decisions in their companies without any visibility into what's really happening.
Yeah, which obviously very directly impacts productivity, right? You're making ill-informed decisions, under-informed decisions, and then based on that, you might be causing yourself more problems and challenges for that 80% of rework and late work, right?
Yeah. I mean, I like to call that profit fate. When I don't have visibility into everything that's happening on a job, that's where profit fate tends to creep in and risk mitigation starts to go up, right? So that's that crossroads where you want that visibility.
So when you think of time being wasted on a construction project, is there one culprit that you feel like is really the worst offender of things that companies are experiencing?
When you think of where time's being wasted, and there's been studies out there that say, like you look at McKinsey or FMI, and they say, construction professionals spend 35% of their time on non-optimal activities.
Okay.
So when I think about that, great. I got my staff out there, my foremen, my supers, my PMs, my controllers, accounting, executives. 65% of their time, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But that other 35%, it's on non-optimal activities. And again, to me, why is that? It's because it's those disconnected solutions. It's not a platform approach. Whether it's one holistic solution like Procore, or it's a Procore WorkMax, it's a Procore WorkMax and an ADP for payroll or whatever the case may be, that disconnected solution set that's not in the platform is causing it, right? Because on average, your staff is individually spending over 5 hours a week looking for PM project information, or another 4.5 hours, doing conflict resolution, or another 4 hours of dealing with mistakes and rework. And all of that comes out of a just not being connected and understanding what's happening in these different silos. So that, that quickly can relate to about 14 hours a week.
Wow.
Of lost time per employee or let's say per role. And, in my prior life as a consultant, you can quickly figure that out, right? And I would say, 14 hours, but what does that really mean? Well, 14 hours for a PM could be up to $50,000 in lost wages, right? For a supervisor, maybe another 45,000. For your pre-con managers, another 50,000. So you could quickly see where it could add up between estimators and directors and C-level suites and PMs, into the hundreds of thousands of dollars annually in lost opportunity wages.
Yeah, and that I want to key on that lost opportunity point you made. I mean, just to illustrate the example, and this is something I used to think of all the time. It's like you've got a backhoe that you need on a project, and you have one, but it's, a few miles away at a different job, and they may or may not use it, but they're not even using it right now. And so on the other project, it's like, well, I don't have time to go get that one. It's easier for me to rent one and have my guy just come bring one out. And so you're actually paying an expense to rent something that you already have. So you're spending extra money there. And meanwhile, you have that resource. It's on another project, but it's also sitting. It's not actually digging any trenches or making you any money. So that's
right.
The opportunity cost is you've got sitting equipment, then you've got an expense on the other side where you're actually renting additional equipment and you're paying for that, and it's a premium over owning it. And so you're actually losing in both sides of the spectrum, to your point.
Yeah, I've seen that so often in my career, and that's always been, an owner's objectives. They would rather buy another pickup truck or a bulldozer as opposed to technology because I could see it working and digging. But one of the funny things that I see when I look at those companies or those equipment companies, and we just talked about the cost impact of hours and dollars, that's the way they look at equipment, right? Equipment utilization. And what they don't realize is you really should be looking. I came from a CPA firm, that focused on construction, and we were measured by our utilization, right? How productive were we? That's really something you should be thinking about with your employees. That's what that opportunity is. 14 hours a week lost per employee is lost utilization, lost opportunities to go out and find new work, lost opportunities to grow our company, right? Lost revenue opportunities because of utilization. I had challenged folks to think of utilization the same way in people as they do with equipment.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think in our businesses today, you got sales, you got support, you've got implementation, training, you got all these other pieces. But if your sales guy is offering excellent support, well, that's nice, but that's not generating new revenue, right? And if your support guy is helping on the sales side, but he's not answering the 6 emails that he got from customers that are now frustrated, well, then again, that's great. He's helping you get this new deal, but who's taking care of those customers while he's absent from the seat on the bus that he's hired to be in, right?
Right. I would say if we even break it down further, because I think some of the easy metrics are, when we would go in and we do an opportunity assessment with the company, look at processes and practices. Okay, here I see it's lost opportunity. You're spending hours on this. Trying to find this document, or like I managed rework and things like that. If you even take it further down between hours and then relating that to cost, I would say the rework that lack of a platform brings to you, if work is productivity, rework is the opposite.
Yeah.
So when we look at companies, in the U.S. alone, $65 billion is spent in rework every year annually. And so if you think about that, the redo is more expensive than you think. I would tell my customers, I'd say indirect costs of rework, you got to think of your supervision, your resourcing, risk mitigation, rescheduling, materials procurement, delays. All this adds up to typically roughly around 6% cost is higher than the original task, right? So that original budget, gone because of the rework.
Yeah, and some in some cases that rework, it maybe isn't even billable, right? Maybe it's your mistake or your problem. And now it really costs you, right?
Oh, absolutely. And one thing that goes hand in hand with rework is job site safety. Those are kissing cousins, because statistically, rework increases the likelihood of safety of a mishap by a factor of 2 times when you're on that job site. So we did it once, great. Now we got to go do it again. Now I'm increasing the odds of an injury or something happening on the job site for rework that I could be losing money. That really leans towards now you start talking about insurance, right? So I don't know about you, but think of it just like car insurance, right? If you ever had an accident and your insurance went down, no, it always goes up. And if it goes up and you don't have an accident for 5 years, has it ever gone back down? No. You're now set a new baseline. You're at this level, right? So all this stuff just starts compounding on each other when you don't have the right, platform approach or mindset of harvesting that data. That's that golden opportunity.
Well, one of the other points back to what requires rework, well, usually there's a miscommunication somewhere, whether it's the client to the contractor to the sub, one sub to another, whoever's fault. You could point the finger any direction, but usually it's poor communication. So these tools of visibility that you keep referring to, these platform tools that actually have a communication capability between parties, will give that visibility to everybody, so that hopefully it eliminates a lot of the unnecessary rework that isn't just, oh, I don't like the way this looks, it's not the way we expected, but more, no, this was done completely wrong and now we got to tear it all out and redo it.
Yeah, it's like we started off with, we get to build some of the most beautiful things in the world, and people take trips to go see it, our projects and things in large cities. But because of that complexity, when you think about what does it take? Well, it took an owner. It took a general contractor. It took hundreds of trades, especially subcontractors. It takes material houses, supply houses. It takes equipment, rental companies. And you start to think of everybody that's involved or could be involved in a job site that is sharing that information back and forth. It's easy to see where the ball could get dropped easily when you're sort of in a disconnected solution set or not taking a platform approach of using best of breed technologies that are connected and validated.
Yeah, and also to your point, one thing I do hear commonly is that even when companies do change orders or do rework, sometimes the communication, the documentation, the timeliness of all of that to turn it around to a bill, an invoice, to actually get paid a check, sometimes there's a gap in time there. And, oh, sorry, job's closed out. You didn't get that in time. I'm sorry, I can't pay you for that. Or even worse, whoops, we forgot to bill that because we didn't have, our I's dotted and our T's crossed in our process. And so that's major profit loss, not just fade. I mean, that's just money you're just never going to see.
Yeah. Fade is not the right word at that point. But I've actually seen that firsthand, where we've sort of had that missing change order on a job that's closed that, hey, we thought we did great. And meanwhile, there's a $300,000 change order floating out there. Too bad. And so sad. That happens more often than you know.
Yeah, so there's so many tools now, and I think we're seeing a lot of them come together. We're seeing APIs, we're seeing web-to-web connectors, and opportunities for one system to talk to another to hopefully provide more visibility. What would you tell companies that are out there looking for a better way to get their systems connected and to tap into more of this visibility if they're really not in a good place now, but need to start moving in the right direction? What are some of the initial steps that they should take?
Well, I'd like to say, like, those companies that are doing those, it's like, the old days, like they're still out in the boonies, right? And so we need to bring them into the circle here and get them closer to understand, what does a connected platform mean, right? Where are the gaps in your company, whether it's internally or it's externally, working with your partners and understanding what are the tools that can help you manage those processes better. because that's really what it's about. Technology should be an assistant to your best practices, not something you utilize and have workarounds or are forced to use, but doesn't address your business processes. So I always say clean up those processes first, then find the best of breed technologies that support those processes and make sure that they can work and connect together, right? In a connected solution set. So there's lots out there. Procore is one. We have a marketplace with over 400 software companies. Candidly, some of them are competitors to us, but that's really okay, because the belief in the core values is we're building, software for people that build the world. And although they may not come with us and they go with one of our partners, there's huge value in that connected solution, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. So we really do believe that, no one has the perfect solution for every business process out there. But what's important is to say, let's connect it together so we can serve the industry. If we're serving the industry, if we're doing the right things, we're all going to win.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, let your solution speak for itself. And if you do a great job of partnering and working with others in the industry, chances are they're going to come back around and maybe you'll get another opportunity to connect with those companies down the road, right?
Yeah, just do the right things for the industry. And I think we see if you're winning or your competitors are winning, as long as it's the right thing, everybody wins.
Yeah, you're moving the herd, right, in the right direction where there's going to be more opportunity for all of us. And so, yeah, I think you're totally right. And I love that approach and appreciate you sharing that with us. So Jeffrey, as far as 2023 and beyond, what do you think are some trends to watch for that companies need to start becoming more aware of if they're not already?
Well, you actually brought up a couple of them that I do think would be trends in 2023. And one of them you mentioned was payments, right? Trying to chase down the payments and things like that. So I see a trend, which is payments. Like, we need to find a new modern approach to how we handle payments in construction. It typically takes 83 days to process payments in construction. According to the 2020 National Construction Payment Report, 80% of contractors are spending a significant amount of time sort of chasing down payments. So the problem is we've got this huge payment cycle, and cash is king, regardless of what they say about cryptocurrency and everything else, right? Cash is still king, especially in construction. So we're holding up future jobs being able to start because we don't have funding, because we're chasing things down, over those 83 days. So I'm starting to see solutions come out there where we can start to streamline payments or using technology, right? So bring a modern approach where we could say we have trust up and down the whole value chain in our market, and think a lot of the solution is cultural. Possibly some of it's just now how we structure our contracts. But I do think, like, reducing payment friction by expediting invoice review and compliance document collection, saving time by removing separate payment solutions from your technology stack, so eliminates the duplicate data entry and integration type issues, and then streamlining your lien waiver collection via some automated collection system, right? Bringing all that together in a creative way, I think, is going to streamline and to bring technology into our payment solutions, right? Again, from a platform perspective, if we have visibility into the life cycle, we can speed up that payment process, where we don't see that particularly today.
Yeah, 83 days is a long time. It's a lot quicker than Amazon Prime, right? You pay for it today and you probably have it tomorrow, right?
Yeah, or in some cases, it's the same day. Not out in the bonus. Yeah.
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation, been fun as expected. One thing that we've been doing the last couple episodes, kind of a fun little game, is Jeffrey picked a word and I picked a word that we assigned to each other to try and use in the conversation naturally. So Jeffrey, why don't you share what word you wanted me to say and tell me how you think I did using it?
Well, I gave you the word garage and I didn't even pick up on it, so I didn't know if you said it or not.
I must have done a great job. Oh yeah. Remember that 8,000 square foot custom home?
Oh, there you go.
But you're only living in the garage, right?
Yes. Good. Very good.
So Jeffrey was given the word boonies, and you did a great job throwing that one in there. I think it came out pretty natural.
Yeah, we got it twice, so I think I get a bonus.
Yeah, there you go. So kind of a fun game. Well, Jeffrey, this has been awesome. What if there's one thing you wanted the listeners to walk away with from our conversation today, what would that be?
I would say really take a look at your technology stack. What are the tools you're using today? And are you optimizing those tools to take advantage of your processes, your internal processes? If you're not, leverage that technology. And then the second piece, which is the most important, which is there duplicate entry between tools, right? Are we using multiple tools where one tool could fit that? Let's take a look at that and get rid of the tools we don't need. And then secondarily, make sure the ones we do have are connected to eliminate, the auxiliary spreadsheets, the manual data entries, those types of things that increase risk and profit fade on our jobs.
Beautiful. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, great wisdom shared here today, Jeffrey. Thank you again. As always, we love having you on, and we'll have to do it again down the road.
Looking forward to it, Mike. Thanks. And looking forward to seeing you on the road here shortly.
All right. Thanks, brother. Be well. We'll see you.
Thank you for joining us today on the Mobile Workforce Podcast, sponsored by About Time Technologies and WorkMax. If you liked the conversation we had today, or were able to learn anything new or helpful, please make sure to follow us on our WorkMax page on LinkedIn and on Instagram at WorkMax_. And subscribe to the show on iTunes or your preferred podcast platform so you will never miss another insightful episode. Also, if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and review and share the show with your friends and colleagues. Your support means the world to us and will allow us to continue providing impactful information with others looking to improve their results in their business and, in turn, their life.